Hi readers, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads. Lee here. Today is my birthday. I'm 54 years old and I'm about to get back up on my feminist shit. This edition is called the Mad Woman edition. And I want to start with Mary Beard's Women in Power, who in this book, the first couple sentences really encompasses a theme that I found that I kept going back to unintentionally throughout the year. I quote, "I want to start near the very beginning of the tradition of Western literature, and its first recorded example of a man telling a woman to shut up, that her voice was not to be heard in public." Like I said, that's been a theme that's come up again and again and again this year in my reading. Most obvious was in a book I didn't choose. This was a book for book club, The Woman They Could Not Silence, the shocking story of a woman who dared to fight back by Kate Moore. I read this for book club, and this is a book about Elizabeth Packard, a housewife whose husband locks her up in an insane asylum because he does not like her words and the way she speaks. And so the idea of the mad woman, a woman being mad or insane because she speaks her mind, comes up over and over and over. So, especially after this one, it came up more subtly in the Stepford Wives by Ira Levin, which is a book I will be reading, I've already read, but we'll be talking about in this month's book club. And what I have on this is the theme of mad women, or women who need to be controlled. So not all these women are mad, but they must come under the men's control so the men can have easier lives. I really loved this book. It is so much like the original movie. The original movie is so much like the book. The book is fantastic. Not a happy ending. There is a similar theme in Rosemary's Baby. Not as blatant, but in Rosemary's Baby, they need the baby to control the mother, so they can control the mother and the demon spawn. The next book that I read this year that had this as an obvious theme was one that I thought was just okay the first time I read it. I might see it differently this time, and that was The Devil and Mrs. Davenport by Paulette Kennedy. In this one, guess what? She starts to speak out against her husband, and she starts to see, like, her husband calls them delusions, she calls them visions, and next thing you know, he's got her locked up into an insane asylum. And folks, as Elizabeth Packard can attest, if she was alive, this is not unheard of. This was commonplace back in the day. The idea of the mad woman also is prevalent throughout Gothic literature, and I was waiting to do this video until a book came in that I had ordered, but it was supposed to come in yesterday. It got canceled this morning because it never showed. And then I reordered it again, and it's still not here. It's supposed to be here by 10 p.m. tonight, but I did not want to wait to do this video. So, it's about mad women in 19th century literature. And that is, okay, after I finish my current book, I'm going to have a palate cleanser, rom-com probably, and then I'm going to read a book I have never read, and I was a literature major, so for shame. That is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I almost said something else. I've not read this book. I do have a copy. This is one of those Walmart 2 for $1 copies where they use the same ISBN for every book. It really, really bothers me. But this will be my next big read, so it may take me a little bit to read this. I'm going to read the Walmart copy back page because there's no description on this, and I've not read it. So the Walmart description is kind of Walmart-y. Young love. For 18 years, she has known only cruelty, abuse, and insult. Now, Jane Eyre finds a new life at Thornfield Mansion as nanny for millionaire Edward Rochester's adopted child. The grand estate is beautiful. Little Adele is a charming delight. Moreover, Jane and her brilliant, haunted employer are falling desperately in love. But in a hidden room, something awaits. And deadly secrets, something dreadful. The mansion's shadowed corners hide a murderous secret from Rochester's past, a living horror that threatens Edward, Adele, and Thornfield itself, a waking nightmare aching to destroy young Jane Eyre's dreams, hopes, and even her life. Ooh, that is melodramatic. And because this is a Walmart edition, which I've had not read, it has no notes or anything like that, so I'm probably going to have some, pull up some articles on the book to read during or after I read this. Really looking forward to this. There is a mad woman in here. I think that is the deadly secret that the Walmart copy talks about. Again, really looking excited to this. I know it's sacrilege. I have not read it. I have read some other books in that era, but not this one. Next up, short story, The Yellow Wallpaper, which is a short story by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. I'm going to read the whole back of this, but first let me tell you about The Yellow Wallpaper. This is one woman's descent into madness as a result of patriarchal constraints. But this book, which I'm not going to read back to back to back, I will probably read The Yellow Wallpaper and then I might read Herland next. Wonderfully sardonic and slyly humorous, the writings of landmark American feminist and socialist thinker Charlotte Perkins Gilman were penned in response to her frustrations with the gender-based double standards that prevailed in America as the 20th century began. Perhaps best known for her chilling depiction of a woman's mental breakdown in her unforgettable 1892 short story, The Yellow Wallpaper, Gilman also wrote Herland, a wry novel that imagines a peaceful, progressive country from which men have been absent for 2,000 years. Both are included in this volume, along with a selection of Gilman's major short stories and her poems. There's poems in here. Are there? I do not see any poems. Oh yeah, they are. They're at the end. 1892. Interesting. Next is something that I believe plays off of Jane Eyre, but I could be wrong. We'll find out. That is Wide Sargasso C, a novel by Rhys. I feel like I know that author, but I don't think I do. Nope. Wide Sargasso C, a masterpiece of modern fiction, was Rhys's return to the literary center stage. She had a startling early career and was known for her extraordinary prose and haunting women characters. With Wide Sargasso C, her last and best-selling novel, she ingeniously brings into light one of fiction's most fascinating characters, the madwoman in the attic from Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. This mesmerizing work introduces us to Antoinette Cosway, a sensual and protected young woman who is sold into marriage to the prideful Mr. Rochester. Rhys portrays Cosway amid a society so driven by hatred, so skewed in its sexual relations, that it can literally drive a woman out of her mind. I have one more book. I have 2 more books, and I actually have a lot more that I did not bring here to talk about because I did not realize I would be chattering so quickly, and I will save them from another day. There's got to be more than one Mad Woman video. So I am trying, although it's not really reflected in this, I have Ira Levin over here, but for the most part, most of these books are written by women, and that is something I am going to try to stick to with a few exceptions. One of those is a book I've had forever, and I may read really soon, like this week-ish or next week. And that is The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This may be a Walmart edition. It doesn't have the sticker. But this is only 146 pages, so I might as well knock this out. In The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. It's very gothic. Terrors in twilight. An isolated, forlorn estate. A very young, inexperienced governess. The boy Miles. The girl Flora. Two angelically beautiful, strangely distant children. And the fiends. Phantoms of shadow and madness, twin creatures of evil, ghosts of the condemned, two figures, half seen, lurking in the twilight windows. Twilight? Anyway. Windows and dark towers, beckoning, silent, coming ever closer. Walking dead who seek to control the children's bodies, steal their minds, destroy their souls. Flora and Miles claim to see nothing, hear nothing, but, with mounting horror, their governess discovers the children want the ghosts as much as the evil wants them. So I can't believe I've never read this. I looked at on my app and it says I've never read it. I really feel like I should have read it, but there's spine's not cracked. Perhaps I read it in college and just don't remember. That's possible, but I have not read this copy. Finally, the final book. I have been reluctant to buy this. A lot of women on Instagram in the horror community have read this, and I have not. That is Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar. There is a reason that I got it. That book is in the other room because I just picked it up from the Barnes & Noble. But The Bell Jar chronicles the crack-up of Esther Greenwood, brilliant, beautiful, enormously talented and successful, but slowly going under, maybe for the last time. Sylvia Plath masterfully draws the reader into Esther's breakdown with such intensity that Esther's insanity becomes completely real and even rational, as probable and accessible an experience as going to the movies. Such deep penetration into the dark and harrowing corners of the psyche is an extraordinary accomplishment and has made The Bell Jar a haunting American classic. I believe Sylvia Plath committed suicide. I guess in my mind, I had this as being a non-fiction book, and maybe it is, there's a portion at the end, The Bell Jar and the Life of Sylvia Plath. I'm not going to read it out loud because it is a lot. But maybe there is a connection. Anywho, I'll let you know what I think about it. I am going to try to focus on this subject for the rest of the year. However, because I know myself, I am going to mix it up. So I'll read Charlotte Bronte, and then I will go read something completely different, and then I'll come back and I will read The Turn of the Screw, and go back read something completely different, and I'll just mix it up like that for the rest of the year. That's my plan. And I plan to return to this theme of the Mad Woman and feminine rage and more as I explore my collection, because I can't buy any more books. I just came back from the bookstore where I spent $200. And my dad's wife and my sister sent me Amazon gift cards. Anywho, that is it for me. Today, I usually post these on Tuesdays about 3:30. So if you're watching this before 7 p.m. Eastern Time, it's still election day. You have until, at least here in North Carolina, 7 p.m. to get in line at the polls. If you are in line at the polls when they close, stay in line. You can still vote if you're already in line. Anywho, happy election day. Happy birthday to me. Happy reading.